Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today on this big adventure of knowledge. My name is Sam and today I want to talk to you about a word you hear all the time but maybe have never really thought deeply about. That word is truth. What is truth? Why is it so important? And how can we figure out what is really true, especially now when we live in the information age, surrounded by so many stories, pictures, videos, and ideas from all over the world. To start our journey, let's think about what truth means. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a beautiful blue sky. Now open your eyes and look outside. If the sky is blue, you can say, "The sky is blue." That is a simple truth. Or maybe it is raining outside, so you could say, "It is raining." That would also be a truth. A truth is something that matches what is really happening in the world. We trust that a truth is something that anyone can see or check for themselves. But here is where the adventure begins, because sometimes what we think is true turns out not to be true at all. Imagine you are playing with your friend on the playground. You see your friend pick up a shiny stone and you say, "Wow, you found a diamond," but later a teacher comes and tells you it is just a piece of glass. Suddenly, what you thought was true changes into something else that is a small mystery, but it happens all the time in life. This is why truth is not always as simple as it seems. There are many things in our world that we do not see right away, so we have to ask questions, explore, and sometimes even change our minds when we learn new things. For example, a long time ago, many people believed the earth was flat because that is all they could see. But then, brave explorers sailed far away and scientists discovered that the earth is round. People learned new facts and changed their minds. That is how truth works. So, how do we find the truth? Why does it matter? We want to know the truth because it helps us make good choices. If I tell my friend that a movie is funny, when really it is sad, they might be disappointed. If a doctor wants to help someone feel better, the doctor needs to know the truth about what is wrong with their patient. If you want to do well in school, it helps to know the real answers to your homework questions. In life, truth helps us build trust with each other. To trust someone means you believe they are telling the truth. Now, let's talk about something new: the information age. What does that mean? Imagine a time when people did not have the internet, or even TV or radio. They could only learn news from their families or people nearby. Now, there are millions of websites, videos, photos, and messages around us every single day. You can find out what is happening on the other side of the world with just a couple of clicks. That sounds amazing, and it is. We can learn more than ever before, but it can also be confusing because not everything we hear or see is true. This is one of the big challenges of the information age. There is so much information that sometimes it is hard to know which parts are true and which parts are not true. For example, you might read on the internet that a famous person did something weird or bad, but maybe it is just a rumor made up by someone who wanted attention. Or you see a picture that looks real, but it has been changed with a computer to fool people. How can we find out what the truth really is? Let's play a little game. I will tell you 3 statements and you can guess which are true. Number 1, apples grow on trees. Number 2, fish live in the desert. Number 3, the moon is made of cheese. Now, which are true? Apples do grow on trees, so that is true. Fish do not live in deserts with no water, so that is not true. And the moon is not made of cheese, it is made of rock. These are simple facts, and easy to check. But when things get more complicated, truth can be much harder to find. Here is another example. Imagine you hear 2 people argue at school about what happened on the playground. One says, "I won the race." The other says, "No, I won the race." Who is telling the truth? Sometimes, the only way to know the truth is to ask other people who watched the race, or maybe to check a picture or video if someone took one. This is called looking for evidence. Evidence is something that helps us find out what really happened. Sometimes, we make mistakes or get tricked by something that seems true. Think about magic shows. A magician can pull a rabbit out of an empty hat, or make coins disappear. It looks real, but it is just a trick. Our eyes and ears can sometimes be fooled. People can make mistakes too. Even when they really believe something is true, that means it is always important to ask questions and not believe everything right away. Why do people sometimes believe things that are not true? There are lots of reasons. One reason is because we want to. Many stories sound exciting and fun, or they help us feel special. For example, you might hear a rumor about a treasure hidden in your town. It would be exciting to believe it is true, but unless there is good evidence, it is probably just a story. Sometimes people are afraid or worried, so they believe things that make them feel safe. Sometimes, People want to belong to a group, and so they believe what everyone else around them says, even if it might not be true. Another reason is because of the internet and information age today. Anyone can post something online even if it is not true. If it is shared many times, lots of people will see and maybe believe it quickly. Something that started out as just a joke or a mistake can become a truth to lots of people. This is called a rumor or misinformation. When people do it on purpose to trick or hurt others, it is sometimes called disinformation. How can we protect ourselves from believing things that are not true? Here are some good tips. Number 1. Always ask questions. Who is saying this? Where did they get their information? How do they know it is true? Number 2. Look for evidence. Can you find other reliable sources that agree about the same thing? Number 3. If something sounds too strange or too exciting or too scary, it is a good idea to check again before believing it. Let's practice with a story. Imagine your friend says there is a secret room filled with candy behind the library. If you press a special button, the door will open. Should you believe it? Maybe you are excited and hope it is true, but what questions would you ask? Did anyone else see this room? Has your teacher or librarian ever heard of it? Can you see the special button yourself, or is it just a story that someone made up for fun? Asking these questions helps you find the truth. Some teachers call this critical thinking. Critical thinking is like being a detective. You look for clues, you ask questions, you check the facts before making up your mind. Detectives have to be careful, patient, and curious. You can be a detective for the truth too. Let me tell you another story. There was once a farmer named Ben who loved to tell stories. He told his neighbors that one of his cows could jump over the barn roof. Some people laughed and did not believe him. Others said, "Wow, if Ben says so, it must be true." Soon everyone in the village was talking about the jumping cow. Some even thought they saw it happen. But one day, someone brought a camera and watched all day. The cow did not jump at all. The people realized that sometimes stories become truth just because people want them to be true or because everyone repeats them. That is why it is so important to look for evidence. Let us think about movies, TV shows, and video games. Sometimes they show things that are not real but look very real. Dragons, spaceships, talking animals, magic powers. When you watch or play, it feels like you are really there, because the pictures and sounds are so good. But that does not mean these things happen in real life. It is fun to imagine, and it is important to know the difference between pretending and the truth. In the information age, there are even more ways to mix up truth and make-believe. There are computer programs called deepfakes that can create videos of people saying or doing things they never actually did. A famous person might appear to say something strange, but really, it is just a trick made by a computer. It can be very hard to tell the difference. That is why it is even more important today than ever before to use our critical thinking skills. Now let's talk about feelings in truth. Sometimes, we feel so strongly about something that we believe it must be true. For example, you might feel that your best friend would never forget your birthday, but one year, they do, and you feel hurt. It might be true that they forgot, but it does not mean they do not care about you. Our feelings are real, and they help us understand the world, but sometimes feelings get mixed up with facts. That is why it is good to slow down, talk to others, and check the facts before making a decision. Another question we sometimes hear people say, "This is my truth," or "That is your truth." What does that mean? Can the truth be different for different people? Sometimes, people have different experiences or points of view. For example, some people love spicy food and say it tastes delicious. That is true for them, but for someone else, spicy food is too hot. That is true for them too. These are opinions or personal truths. There is nothing wrong with having opinions, but facts, like the earth goes around the sun or water freezes at 0 degrees, can be checked and tested by anyone, so they are truths for everyone. Here's another good example. Imagine you and your friend are looking at the clouds. You say, "That one looks like a dragon." Your friend says, "No, it looks like a horse." Who is right, you or your friend? Actually, you are both right. It is what you see in your own mind. People can have different ideas or opinions about things they see, and that is okay. But if you measure the cloud or see a picture of it, you both will agree the cloud is made of water and air. That is the truth about clouds. One important thing about the information age is that it connects the whole world. People who live far away can share their stories, culture, and ideas right away. That is amazing. We can learn so much from each other. But sometimes, different countries or groups tell different stories about the same event. It can be confusing. Whose story is the real truth? The answer, often, is that we need to listen to many people, check many sources, and sometimes accept that things are complicated. The truth is not always simple and clear, but working together and listening to lots of voices helps us get closer to it. Let's talk about trust again. Trust is built when people tell the truth, keep their promises, and act honestly. If someone lies to you again and again, it becomes hard to trust them, and if you lie to others, they may stop trusting you. This is why truth is so important in friendship, in families, and in the world. When we tell the truth, we help create a safe, happy place for everyone. But are there times when telling the truth is difficult? Sometimes, yes. For example, if you broke your mom's favorite cup and you feel scared, you might want to hide the truth. But if you decide to tell the truth, maybe you and your mom could fix the cup together, or she can teach you to be more careful next time. Telling the truth even when it is hard helps you become stronger and kinder. Let's think about another story. There was a little girl named Mia. She loved to draw pictures, and she was very proud of her work. One day she drew a beautiful rainbow and showed it to her teacher. Her teacher said, "That's very creative." Mia told everyone. The teacher said I was the best artist in the school. Soon all her classmates were talking about how Mia was the greatest artist. But was it true? The teacher liked her picture, but she did not say Mia was the best. Sometimes, when stories get carried away, a little bit of truth can quickly become a big story that is not completely true. This happens a lot online too. Sometimes one person writes something, and then others share it over and over, and soon lots of people believe it, even if it is not true. That is why it is so important to check facts and not just believe everything you read or hear before sharing something with others. Ask yourself, is this true? How do I know? Now, let's practice telling the truth. Consider if a classmate asks you for help and you do not know the answer. What would you do? Would you pretend to know and say something random? Or would you say, "I am not sure, but let's find out together"? When you admit you do not know, you are telling the truth. That is a brave and honest thing to do. It helps people trust you, and you can learn something new together. Another way to practice truth is by listening carefully. Sometimes, we are so sure we are right that we do not listen to other people, but listening is part of discovering the truth. Maybe they know something you do not, or maybe you misunderstood. It is good to be curious and open to new information. Now, let's talk about science. Science is a wonderful way people try to find the truth. Scientists ask questions, make guesses called hypotheses, do experiments, and then check if their guess was right. If it is, many other scientists will check too. If everyone gets the same answer, then it is probably true. But sometimes even scientists make mistakes, or new evidence is found and they change their minds. That is how science works. The search for truth never stops. There are also times in history when people believed things were true, but later they learned they were wrong. For example, long ago some people believed that being sick was caused by bad air, not by germs or viruses. But when microscopes were invented, scientists saw tiny germs that make people sick. They changed their ideas and got closer to the truth. The more we learn, the closer we get to knowing what is really true. In the information age, sometimes people try to trick us on purpose. They might make up fake news or use computers to change pictures. This can even happen in videos or voice recordings. So what can you do? You can use your detective skills again. Check if the information comes from a trusted source. Are there other people who can confirm it? Is there more than one piece of evidence? Does it sound too strange or too good to be true? Let's talk about the power of questions. When you are not sure about something, ask who made this claim. Where did they get the information? Why are they saying it? What do other sources say about it? It is good to be curious and careful when searching for the truth. Now let me tell you another story. There was a boy named Jack who loved mysteries. One day he heard a rumor that his school was going to have a pizza party. He was so excited and told all his friends, but soon they learned it was not true and Jack was very disappointed. He decided next time he would always find out the facts before telling others. That way, no one would get disappointed, and everyone would trust him. As you grow older, you will see even more information every day. People will try to convince you of different things that may not always be true. Some people do it by accident, others do it on purpose, but you have the tools to protect yourself and help others find out where the information comes from. Ask questions, look for evidence, and think for yourself. It is also important to remember that even when people disagree, they can both be trying to find the truth. For example, in sports, two teams try to win, but when the match is over, Everyone knows who the winner is because they can check the score and other things, like art or music. People might have different ideas about what is beautiful or special. That is okay. Not all questions have just one answer. Truth in art can be different for everyone, but truth in facts like math or science is something everyone can check. Let's look at one more way to think about truth. Imagine a big puzzle. Each piece is like a piece of information. Sometimes you only have a few pieces and the picture does not make sense, but as you find more pieces, the picture becomes clearer. The truth is like the finished puzzle. The more pieces you have that fit, the better you can see what is really there. So be patient and keep searching. Sometimes, the search for truth can be hard. It takes time and sometimes you will make mistakes, but do not give up. Every time you ask questions, look for evidence, and try to be honest. You are getting closer to the real truth. You can help others too. If you see a rumor or story that does not sound right, you can help your friends check if it is true. You can say, "Let's find out together," or share tips about how to check facts. In this way, you are not only protecting yourself, but you are also helping the whole community. Let's remember too that everyone makes mistakes. It is okay to admit if you believed something that was not true. Being able to say, "I was wrong," or "I thought that but now I know better," is a wonderful thing. It means you are learning and growing. The information age gives us amazing tools. We can learn more, connect with others far away, and help solve big problems, but we also have to be careful because not everything we see or hear is true. With practice, you can become great at finding out what is real. In the end, truth is important because it helps us make good choices, build trust, solve problems, and understand the world even when it is hard to find or when people disagree. Searching for the truth together makes us wiser and kinder to each other. So next time you hear a surprising story, see a strange photo, or get a weird message, remember to stop and think, is this really true? Who says so? How do they know? Then, use your detective skills to find out more. If you do that, you will be a truth seeker, and our world will be a better place because of you. Thank you for listening today. I hope you keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep searching for the truth, because the adventure of finding the truth never ends. Have a wonderful day and see you next time.